Hey, my name is William from 222 Productions, and I am here to talk to you about American Ninja Warrior Season 9, the Denver Finals episode, in approximately 20 minutes or less, starting now. So, now if you remember from last time, I was not particularly fond of the Denver qualifier episode of this season, but I gotta say, personally, I think I warmed up to Denver a little bit. Because I definitely think this episode was a lot better than the qualifier episode. I enjoyed it more. In fact, I would say that of the six finals, I would rank this third of the three. My personal opinion, LA was the best. The Kansas City was my second favorite, and then Denver for a top three. As weird as that sounds, but there were a total of 32 ninjas this time around. 31 of them made some sort of airtime. Poor guy. So let's just quickly run through the course. We had the same course as last time for the first half: floating steps, ring swing, bouncing spider, paddle boards, rail runner. Rail runner was changed. The second rail is actually higher up, which does make it easier because you're not trying to fall and catch the second handlebars. It's more like you got to jump across and grab it, and that actually makes it a lot easier because lashaying across is easier than lashaying down, because you got that downward force working to you, and also you don't have to worry about smacking your face onto that middle of the rail. Then of course the warp wall, salmon ladder. Then they brought back the wedge. The wedge has a new design. Previously it was a bar that had cups on the end and a ball in the cup. Instead, it's now a bar with balls just impaled inside of it. So yeah, I got some balls that are impaled like this. Different design. I don't know. I imagine it made some sort of difference. I heard it was the bar itself was stiffer, but I wasn't there, so I can't really tell you if there was any real difference. Then it was a new obstacle called the Ninjago Roll. I've been hearing about this obstacle for quite some time. I thought it was the nail clipper at first from the previews. It's not the case. So the Ninjago Roll, it's this big wheel that while hanging from, you have to rotate. It's 150 pounds. There's there's 8 bars on the wheel. 4 of them rotate. You have to go uphill. The wheel has these gears that go onto these, gear tracks. You go uphill and then you go back downhill, and then downhill there's 2 crossbars as well. This is just screams A&W. It's overly complicated and at times questionable safety. Those crossbars, all I can think of when I saw the 2 crossbars in the track was what happens if your arm gets jammed, I don't know about that. But also the fact that 4 of the 8 bar spin, that's such an A&W thing, especially because as if I couldn't see the bar spin. I took their word for it, but it's just overly complicated. If they got rid of the crossbar and the spinning bars is not needed, I thought it was a fine obstacle. It's not one of my favorites. I did have a problem because, for those who don't know, this obstacle was sponsored by the Lego Ninjago movie that's coming out in, I want to say, November. But yeah, I'm not a fan of obstacles being sponsored. I'm okay with having sponsors with the palm thing, but having an actual obstacle just decked out with Lego Ninjago movie on the actual obstacle and on the poles of the supports, it's to me that just feels like corporate dipping into the show too much. It just feels wrong. It reminds me of when the 2008 American Gladiator series had an episode dedicated to Incredible Hulk. I believe it was the Marvel one, and so it's the gladiators are using Hulk fists in the gauntlet obstacle, and it's it felt wrong. It just feels wrong. Then of course is the elevator climb. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do I approach this obstacle? So I guess I do appreciate that they actually started with a guy who failed early. Ian Weber, who it says Shakerboard, yeah. Shakerboard champion. He got a bad bounce on the bouncing spider and he went out. I guess one of the things that kind of bother me about the bouncing spider, like, okay, so I'm just gonna ask this before I continue. Does anyone know the actual technical name of the trampoline used on the bouncing spider and the hourglass drop? Because I can't find it anywhere because I don't know the name. I can't search like bungee trampoline because that gives me bungee trampolines, like the actual trampolines you can buy that have bungee cords instead of springs. So that doesn't work for me. The other thing is that, like, when you're making your way down, there's like a red tape to say like, oh, don't go below this tape when you're dropping down. And it's like, really, couldn't you have just, cut that part off or raise the raise the panels? It's like, you're A&W, you have money. Like, that's something I would expect from like a gym who can't like afford to constantly change an obstacle like that. That just comes across as like kind of like cheap. It's like, oh, stay within the lines. It's like that wasn't about that. One of the things I don't like about the bouncing spider. Then they had Larissa Cote. Failed the rail runner. She was concrete work. She did fine. Oh yeah, she did a little dance that I wasn't fond of. That might have cost her. I don't remember how fast she was compared to Jerry, but I wasn't a fan of that. What I did find weird is I'm just gonna go out of order because that's what I do anyway. Kind of interesting. Yeah, they showed some like people failing early obstacles, which I appreciate. Kind of mix things up. When they showed Jerry Giulio, she was the fourth woman. Actually, they went through most of the women kind of quickly. But, like, she ended up making it to Vegas. I'm kind of surprised they never actually mentioned that she was moving on to Vegas at that point. It must have been because of, like, the order that they were shown were not actually the order they filmed. Because, Jerry would have known that she was moving on because of the first four women who ran, she had the best performance, but they didn't announce that. But yeah, she failed the rail runner again. Yeah, I like Jerry. I didn't know she was a military attorney. That's pretty cool. They got to Brian Arnold. He was about halfway through the episode. He broke his nose. Basically, they confirmed that he broke his nose on the rail runner. So I'm not a fan of the rail runner because, like, hey, you shouldn't have an obstacle where it's easy to break your nose like that. It's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. He talked about how his frustration about the wedge, because in both Vegas and USA versus the World last year, he failed the wedge obstacle. And now it's in Denver, as if Denver wasn't hard enough. And he jokingly said, if I fail the wedge again, I'm retiring. Well, good thing no one's going to try to hold him up to his word because he failed the wedge again. He's still going on to Vegas, which is fine, but like, ooh boy. But also they started him midway at the paddle boards, which is like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll just go ahead and I'll just skip ahead. So about the second last run of the night was Ian Dory. And he was the only one that cleared, which means this season we only had 9 people clear a regional finals. That is less than 2 per region, which is crazy low. It's crazy low. It's the lowest average, I think lowest total since the NBC era. So that's 4 on. And yet, despite being the only run that cleared, they showed him mid-progress, starting at the rail runner. Not even at the beginning of the rail runner, like almost the end of the rail runner, which is just like, I don't get it. Like, do you not want us to watch people clear the course? I don't know. This course takes too long to complete. Because think about it. There's been 9 runs. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, how many were shown mid-progress of people who cleared? So we have Ian, we have Jamie, we have Joe, and we have Josh. That's 4 off the top of my head that I know were shown mid-progress of the 9 people who cleared. I think that might be it. So almost half of the competitors who cleared were shown mid-progress. That wouldn't be such a bad thing if we had a large amount of clears, but we only had 9. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why would you not have more focus on your only clear? And Ian looked good from what we saw. Like, wish we could see more. Wish we could see the first parts, but he gets to the top of the elevator climb. By the way, when he was the only one who cleared the Ninjago roll, when he got to the downhill portion, unsurprisingly, that section was a lot easier. Basically, the Ninjago roll is really just about the first half of the obstacle. He gets to the elevator climb. He gets to the top, but he kind of so he's getting to the top. He let goes of the right side, and he's on the left side pulling himself up, but he gets caught. So his legs are up, he's holding on to one handle, and there's just this point where I'm just like, oh my god, please don't fall, you're going to land right on your head, please don't fall. It doesn't matter how good that mat is, you're going to land on your head, oh my god. But no, he pulled himself up, he was absolutely exhausted, but he hit the button, and he cleared, and man, he earned that. Ian's good. I'm going to be completely honest here, I tend to underestimate Ian. I kind of just forget about him, but he's good. He's really good. They showed Sam got fast forward. Unfortunately, he got DQ'd on the paddle boards for stepping in the center cylinder. I'm not a fan of obstacles where you can get easily DQ'd like that. I'm of the opinion that you should design obstacles that you shouldn't get. The only way you get DQ'd is by falling off them. And then it was, there was a lot of Wedge fails. I think they showed they're just looking at my list. There's actually a lot of runs of people who got full runs who ultimately got eliminated because we got a couple of, warped wall stuff, some salmon ladder fails. I got Matt Dolce, who's an extreme pharmacist, failed the salmon ladder. He fell at the top. Might have moved on. Dalton Knapp, who's a cancer survivor. Oh, he was the actual one whose brother helped him. He failed the salmon ladder, got eliminated, but then they showed his older brother, who I believe moved on. Yes, he did. And he moved on because he failed the wedge. I think everyone who failed the wedge moved on. I think there might have been just enough people, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But halfway through, they showed Lauren Ball. I like Lauren Ball, one of the few people to compete in every single season. Like I said before, I appreciate that he goes fast because Ninja Warrior is, in my opinion, better when people are going faster because that's kind of half the point of the original spirit of the show. I do wish, especially, again, just kind of going back with the whole Ian Dory thing, if you can't find the time to fit an entire run, your course takes too long to complete. You should make it faster. Figure out something else. They showed Lauren Ball. They talked about how, he went out early last year. He wants to redeem that, and the last time he cleared a city finals was AW4. Unfortunately, he didn't clear a series final, clear a city final, but he did make it to the Ninjago Roll. They claimed he was the first one, but he would have been the last person to run the course, so that's not true. I'm glad he moved on. He ended up finishing second. They had a promo for Las Vegas, of course, because that's next week. And they officially announced that Casey Catanzaro is retiring. For those of you who don't know why, that same night WWE released the first 4 episodes of their Mae Young Classic, which is a women's only tournament. And in episode 2, they show Casey Catanzaro in a crowd, and they announced that they had signed her. So yes, she is indeed becoming a professional wrestler. So we'll talk more about that when we get to Vegas next week. But yeah, this episode, it wasn't really anything bad outside of the whole Ian Dory edit. It was just, a bunch of random runs from kind of random people. And honestly, it was entertaining overall. Was there anything? There was a Jesse Lucero. Jesse Lucero was the only other one who fell on the Ninjago Roll. They showed him halfway at the paddleboard, so again, but But he stood on the walk-on line for 29 days. I couldn't do that. I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't do that. It's God, I don't know. I couldn't. I just couldn't do that. I'm sorry. They said all the finalists got tickets to see the Lego Ninjago movie with them and their families. So again, kind of sponsorship thing. I wouldn't mind if they only did that. It's the whole obstacle being sponsored thing that annoys me. Ryan Suter of the Suter 7 once again showed that he's the only member who is decent. He's going to Vegas. So I imagine we're going to see the whole family at the start line cheering him on or something. I don't know. Anything else that's really worth mentioning? We'll just skip ahead. Tammy Clore failed early on the bouncing spider. That was disappointing. So they saved Megan Martin for last. So this whole women's only rule. One of the things that kind of disappointed me about it was the very real possibility that we weren't going to get 100 people in Vegas. Because I'm kind of, by my own admission, I'm a bit obsessive over the whole, Vegas should have 100 people because it's a nice round number and it's like the one thing from Sasuke that I feel like American Ninja Warrior should follow. It's fine to do their own thing and all that. I genuinely try not to compare the two shows, but it's having 100 people. I feel like that's like the core of the show, in my opinion. Even though A&W doesn't feature the actual order correctly of how they run, but it's just it's also just because if you have more people run Vegas, the odds of having people you have a better odds of having more people clear stage 1. That's just the whole thing. But maybe it's slightly OCD of me, but whatever. But there was, I think, because last year we had 3 women who finished in top 15, there was this sort of real realization that we probably were going to have 99 people in Vegas. And if it was 98, I wouldn't be so bad because that's 2 off. But if we're only 1 off, that would have annoyed me. And then they saved Megan Martin for last. I'm not saying I was rooting for the women of this episode to do poorly because we already had 2 women finish in the top 15. Because at the end of the day, I want people to just do the best that they can. But when they saved Megan Martin for last, immediately I was like, oh no, we're gonna have 99. Oh no, this is gonna be my worst nightmare. That didn't happen. I actually have no idea why they saved Megan Martin for last because there was nothing. Other than the fact that she's Megan Martin, there was nothing outstanding, I should say, about her run. She made it to the Wedge and failed, like a lot of other people. She actually didn't finish in the top 15, and quite frankly, I think Nick Kostreski should be thanking his lucky stars that Megan did a cartwheel at the top of the warped wall, which normally I criticize someone for celebrating, but at the same time, she had already qualified for Vegas, so what does it matter? There's this weird vibe from the new women's rule where it's like once they qualify for Vegas, at that point they're just playing spoiler for the man in 15th place. Because according to the leaderboard, Megan was close to Nick's time up the salmon ladder, so she could have beat him. She could have beat him. So Nick should be thanking everyone. But yeah, I feel like they should have just ended it with Lauren. Because that was a better story. It's like, Kenny redeemed himself. That would have been nice. Or, and also he would have been the actual last person to run. And also they didn't show anyone on the bubble. I like it when they show people on the bubble. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a fine episode. Just going to run through top 15. We had a total of 32 ninjas run. Here are the top 15. We had 1 completion. That'd be Ian Dory. 2 people failed the Ninjago Roll, and Lauren Ball and Jesse Lucero, and the rest in the top 15 all failed the Wedge. That'd be Carson Voiles, Ryan Suter, Dan Yeager, Craig Richard, Bart Copeland, Drew Knapp, Ben Antoine, Brian Arnold, Yancy Kozela. Congratulations. Luke Chambers, Michael Salenzi, and Nick Kostreski. The top 2 women are Megan Martin, who failed the Wedge, and Jerry Di Arulio, who failed the Rail Runner. And we are going to stop the clock right now. And I actually stayed underneath 20 minutes for a change. What do you know? So, what do you think about the Denver finals? Let me know. What do you think? I'm interested in hearing it. I enjoyed it. It's not like it was outstanding, but it was enjoyable, and it's honestly, it was kind of better than it's been. The wedge didn't bother me because I actually like that obstacle. It's like, yeah, 12 of the top 15 failed the 8th obstacle, but it's like, at least it wasn't a bad obstacle. That's just something in the format that A&W hopefully will address, but probably won't, to be perfectly honest. So next week is Las Vegas Midoriyama, the national finals, whatever you want to call it. I've already seen the preview for what the course looks like on Crashing the Course. I kind of got mixed feelings about it because it does seem like they're just kind of fitting obstacles in the same frame that they've been using for years now, and I do wish they mix it up a little bit. We'll see. We'll cross that path when we get to it. But yeah, hey, we're almost at the end. If memory serves me right, got 3 episodes left and 4 stages. So that's it. All bets are off. We have exactly 100 people in Vegas. That makes me happy. And that's it. Yeah, we'll see you next week for Vegas when the finals kick off and failing actually matters. 100%. So, I should say, instead of failing actually matters 100%, I should say success actually matters, because this entire time success technically didn't matter as much, because you just need to not make it to a certain point fast enough. But in this case, success finally matters in Vegas. So, see you next time for the start of the grand finale. Bye, everyone.